Good evening. My name is Aaron Tuckfield. I'm the chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I'm calling this meeting to order at 6:31. This is a regularly scheduled meeting, and I have called it to order. First item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand with me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. I believe the second item on our agenda is the roll call. Ms. Lawson, our secretary, is not here this evening, and Mr. Piper has agreed to act as our secretary this evening. So, Mr. Piper, please call the roll.
Yes. Member DeCoster. Here. Member DeBruin.
Here.
Member Piper is here. Member Slauson is absent. And Chairman Tuckfield.
Here.
We
All
have
right.
quorum.
Very good. And I don't believe we have to do anything excusing Ms. Lawson tonight per our bylaws, but she was in contact late in the day. She had something come up that she was not able to make it, so that's why we don't have an alternate here this evening, as she had been planning to, but then had something come up. All right.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to abstain from calling Member Slauson's name from any roll call votes.
Very good. Motion by Mr. Piper. Is there support? Support. Supported by Mr. DeBruin. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by saying nay. That motion carries, and we will not call Ms. Lawson's name on the roll call this evening. Next is item 4, which is addressing any conflicts of interest. At this time, we'll call the roll, and if any members have a conflict of interest on the item tonight, we only have one, please signify by saying yes, and if you have no conflicts, please signify by saying no. Mr. Piper, please call the roll.
Member DeCoster.
No.
Member DeBruin.
No. Member
Piper is no. Chairman Tuckfield.
No. That being said, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda, which is item number 5. Mr. Box, we have another item this evening with minutes. Would it be better for me to add it on the agenda or do this at the end of the meeting?
I think we can add it on the agenda.
Okay, very good. So we have the approval of the agenda. I believe you all received an email from Mr. Box with some minutes that we're looking to amend this evening from a previous meeting. I think it probably would be appropriate to put that as, say, 6B. After the approval of tonight's minutes, if someone can make a motion, if they so desire, to add that and recommend approval of the amended agenda.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to add item 6B to tonight's agenda, and that will be for the approval of the amended meeting minutes from November 4th, 2021.
Very good. Motion by Mr. DeCoster. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Piper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by saying nay. That motion passes and the amended agenda is adopted. That being said, we'll move on to item 6, which is the approval of the previous meeting minutes. This would be the first set before us this evening. It'll be those from April 7th, 2022. Is there any discussion or motions on these minutes?
I have, under roll call, I don't believe I was here for this meeting,
I believe that's accurate.
and my name is on there, so I just with the, I would make a motion to accept them with the exclusion of my name under number 3 here in roll call.
Very good, and I think Mr. Box had mentioned that it might be appropriate for us to put Ms. Lawson under absent as well, as she is a regular member who was not there that evening. Probably leave alternates off of absent if they're not here, but a regular member. So, would you amend your motion?
Absolutely.
Okay, very good. Motion by Mr. DeBruin to approve the amended minutes. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Piper. All those please signify by in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by saying nay. That motion carries. All right, item 6B is the approval of the meeting minutes from November the 4th, 2021. I believe you all got an email on this, but specifically we had a roll call in here to recommend, or not recommend, but to deny a variance request. So we were voting to deny, and the roll call said nay, even though we said yes, which means we wanted to deny it. So I think I understand how it ended up happening, but if we could vote to change those, I think it would better reflect the record. Any motions on these minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to amend the presented minutes for November 4th, 2021.
Very good. Motion by Mr. DeCoster. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Piper. All those, actually, Mr. Piper, let's do a roll call on this one.
Member DeCoster?
Yes.
Member Piper votes yes. Member DeBrun?
I think I would abstain because this was prior to my involvement on the board. I don't believe I was part of this meeting, so I would abstain.
I think that's fair enough, Mr. Orlando.
Right, and because Mr. DeCoster, Mr. Piper, and yourself are here, we have a quorum
We have a
from
quorum,
who was
okay.
present for that meeting.
Very good.
Very good.
Chairman Tuckfield?
Yes. All right, motion passes with 3 yeses and 1 abstention, and those meeting minutes are adopted. Mr. Box, I appreciate your staff working on that and getting that corrected. All right, we have item 7, which is old business. I don't believe we have any old business this evening, so we're going to move on to new business. New business is a variance request from the zoning ordinance, 2 sections, 10.0311A3 and 10.0704D1. This would be for permanent parcel 0805477-015. And I'm not going to try to pronounce the petitioner's name because I don't want to butcher it, but I believe they are in the audience this evening. Mr. Box, could you take us through the department reviews on this, please?
Yes, as you mentioned, there are 2 variance requests. One is for a setback and one is to allow an accessory structure in the side yard. They are in Wolverine subdivision, west of Luckman Road, north of 25 Mile Road. As you see on the screen behind you, they, again, are looking to have an accessory use in the side yard, as well as reduce the street side setback from 55 feet to 49 feet from the center line. In particular, it's for a pool, and they're talking about this area in general, where the pool would go out into the kind of the front side yard, if you will. You should have all got this in your packet, the layout that they're proposing for this pool, and it appears a slide as well and a pool house. So internally, our departments looked at it, and assessing department had no objections. Engineering noted that there was not a practical difficulty provided. They reviewed it for unique conditions, and they were unable to find any. And they felt that there were a number of things being proposed that could possibly be reconfigured or resized to meet the ordinance requirements. And they felt that the request, however, did not pose any engineering-related concerns. Within planning, our analysts took a look at this as well, had some similar comments that they felt there wasn't really a hardship provided. No unique site conditions. There's no easements, no drains of any kind. It's a very rectangular lot. And they would suggest that the petitioner provide what the hardship might be. And that being said, similar to what engineering mentioned, it looks to me as if a reconfiguration might be able to make this fit within the ordinance. That being said, also, there's no engineering concerns. They're not going into an easement. There's not really a concern of drainage. So I think if a difficulty could be provided, we could support it, being that there's nothing harmed in that sense. But we did want to point out kind of the spirit of the ordinance. So I'm going to go back a few slides so you can see the aerial here. So standard lots are 70 by 120. Corner lots, we require the extra 20 feet, so they're 90 by 120. And that extra setback on the side is essentially so the house on the corner is in alignment with the other houses. It's an aesthetic feature, as well as a safety concern. If a vehicle is coming fast around the corner and it loses control, a lot less likely it's going to make it all the way to a house that's back here when its standard setback would be 7.5 feet. So that being said, the one concern we would have is if this is sticking out beyond the normal setback allowance, would a house next door look out their front window and see a pool? Is that something that we want to see in the ordinance? But again, going back to, the recommendation would be that if they could provide what the hardship would be, we could consider supporting it. Otherwise, we didn't see what the hardship was.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Box. Is there any questions for Mr. Box from the board?
I do have one. With regards to the first variance, allow accessory structure in the street side yard, is that just the concrete? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so any accessory use into the side yard, yep, and allowing it in, it's kind of a, if you approve one, you kind of by default are gonna approve the other, or vice versa. So it's probably one, in looking at what the ordinance says, we've had a number of these pool setback requests for variance on corner lots like this, and usually it's just one listed. In reviewing the ordinance is probably something that we should be doing more regularly.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I will open up to the petitioner. If you could come forward, go ahead and sit at the center table here, state your name and address for the record, and give any comments you might have.
Good evening, board members. My name is Blagoje Jovanovski, and that's my wife, Katerina Jovanovski. We live at 55173 Norman Drive. When we originally started a year ago developing these plans for the pool, we looked at a bunch of different configurations, and we're kind of landlocked almost where the pool was. We have a 12-foot easement from the back of the property that we have to stick within, and also we have a 15-foot existing patio. So kind of limited the placement of the pool east and west on the property. Is that east? Yes, east and west on the property line. So the only way we could get everything to fit nicely, we had to expand into the variance. So everybody is aware, the pool itself is not going into the variance. It's just the concrete that's supporting the slide that's going into the variance. If we had to shift the pool over, I would have to, the patio that you see right there, I know this is a bad sketch, but it's to scale. I would have to kind of demolish part of that patio in order to get the hot tub to fit. And it also kind of puts the pool house right over, right within 5 or 6 feet of the pool, which kind of doesn't look right. I mean, we looked at this a few times with my wife, and we were thinking about, let's switch the pool house to the other side, but that's an eyesore for the other neighbors, so we didn't want to do that. So the best solution we could come up with, if we could get the variance, I know it's not a lot, 6 foot isn't a lot, but in the terms of needing a foot here and a foot there, it would help our situation out. We would put abrevieties along the edge of the property and to conceal and not make anything, an eyesore. What else could I say? I know that, and we did have to limit the pool to the length that we have and the width that we have, because I could only fit a 14-foot pool in there. Usually, a good pool size is between 16 by 30, 16 by 38, that size pool, which is comfortable with a lot of neighbors. And when I did speak to a few of my neighbors that have pools already, I asked them, I go, so what size, what do you regret when you guys put in the pool, right? And they were always said size. The size, we should have went bigger, And people that were a little bit smaller than ours here would have wanted bigger, and that's what we kind of proposed on our end of it. So our hardship would be the demolishing of our patio that we currently have there, and it won't look good with the pool house kind of sitting right on top of the pool. So that's why we're asking for the 6-foot only variance on the south side of the property. And we're hoping the board will approve it. That's all I say, I think, on that one. Kathy, you have anything to? No? Okay.
All right, very good, sir. I appreciate it. Is there any questions for the petitioner? Mr. Piper?
And not so much a question for petitioner, well, maybe it is. The pool house, in looking at it, what if it was slid down closer to the house? And then there'd be more room for the pool to go that direction. I don't.
Right where you see that there's a sidewalk that comes from the side of our house all the way up to where that 3-foot mark is. That's where you come into the patio. So sliding that all down would kind of get in the way of the whole thing, I guess. And I would have to slide it down actually almost to like the far edge of my property, far edge of the pool right there to kind of do that. So, it just wouldn't look good, to be honest with you. I mean, just bringing it down, it'd kind of be more of an eyesore for my neighbor on the right-hand side than it would, because right now it's tucked up in that corner, and the house to the west of me, you can't see that pool house, and they can see it, but it kind of opens it up. If I pulled it down this way, I think it just closed up the whole area for my neighbor, and it wouldn't look good. I reviewed it, I mean, my neighbors have no objection with the pool house where it's at, so that's why I was hoping that we could do it that way. And I know there is 10-foot concrete on the right-hand side. We're hoping to have that room because, like a Chase lounge, it's probably 7 to 8 feet, so you don't have a lot of room there to put a Chase lounge if you wanted to. So we were just kind of trying to make it functional for us. So I hope that answers your question.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I would typically open this up to the public, but I believe the only member in the audience besides the petitioner is the other petitioner. So I think with no objections, I'm going to skip going to the public as there are no public here to comment. And bring this back to the board. Mr. Box, I did just want to clarify one thing, and I think you touched on this with Mr. DeCoster, but we consider concrete an accessory use even as a sidewalk might be in a side yard setback?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, and the slide is another accessory use that's out there.
The
as well.
slide obviously would be, yes, but if they were to, I'm assuming that if concrete is considered it, they wouldn't be able to, for example, reverse the slide to the other side of the, because as this is drawn, I believe the water's edge is outside of the side yard setback?
It appears that way, yes.
Okay.
And I will also point out, I know he mentioned, in fact, I can show you on the screen behind you, the privacy trees. Looks like that's what he's got hashed out here. To be clear, this is a storm easement, which is very standard in almost every lot in the township. In order to plant trees there, they would need an easement encroachment agreement from the Water and Sewer Department.
Okay. To the petitioner, so one of the things that we have to look at here, and you'll note Mr. Box mentioned practical difficulty. That's part of what we have to look into as a board. It's kind of it's what we're supposed to look for. And typically a practical difficulty does not, by its definition, include things such as something being too expensive or something of that nature. You know, it's typical with other requests. Someone will say, hey, it's going to be really expensive for me to do this. It's not really within our purview to consider, strictly speaking. So if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're giving as your reasoning is principally the ability to assemble all the components in your backyard in a pleasing manner, which I can certainly understand and find laudable, but for us, that may not speak to a practical difficulty. It may not have any application to it. It's usually a practical difficulty more has to do with, you know, the shape of the property or something that wouldn't allow you to reasonably use the property the way you would have expected to any other way. I'm not looking to make this an open, going back and forth on it, but just understand that's something we're looking for, and I haven't seen anything, so I just wanted to make sure that I give you the chance, with the way the property is configured, something that's more structural to the property. Is there anything in that regard that causes you to need this particular variance?
Yes, if we did shift it back, I would have to remove part of the patio that's existing there. That's my biggest concern. There's a patio already existing there. If I did shift it back, that's 6 feet. I guess, 6 feet would be beneficial to me. If there's something the board would suggest less that I could get out of it, I would accept. Maybe 4 feet, or, you know, whatever it may be, but the pool guy needed that 7 foot of concrete in order to make the slide work. That was the reasoning for that. And I can't go on the east and west side of my property because it's already taken up by the easement, it's already taken up by the patio. So that's why we had to go that 6 feet. I know 6 feet is not a lot, but like I said, it would help us out, and there would, like I said, a foot here does make a difference, and it kind of make it more pleasing for us, and I think overall, the other owners around there, I don't think they would have any objection to us getting that extra 6 feet. I know that, you're saying that that would cause me a hardship, I guess, just, redoing that whole patio.
Okay, and that's understood, that's understood. Okay, any other questions from the board of the petitioner? Hearing none, Mr. Box, any other comments for us, or Mr.
Not at
Orlando?
this time.
Nothing.
All right, very good. With that, if there's no further questions or comments, I would open the floor for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion based on, similar to what you said. While we have approved some of these in the past, there were clear practical difficulties with larger easements, drains, shape of lots and things. So in this case, unfortunately, I would make a motion to deny the variance request. Should we do these one at a time?
I think if it's both, if it's both for the same parcel ID, I think we're okay doing it in one motion. Mr. Orlando, as long as you're
That's
okay with
fine.
that.
Okay. I will make the motion to deny the variance request for section 10.0311A3 as well as 10.0704D1.
Motion by Mr. DeCoster, is there support?
I support that.
Supported by Mr. DeBrun. Mr. Piper, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Member DeCoster,
Yes.
Member DeBruin,
Yes.
Member Piper votes yes. Chairman Tuckfield, sorry.
Yes, also yes. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it's not the result you're looking for, but I do appreciate you coming in and working with us on this, and I hope you have good fortune going forward with resolving it. Thank you. All right, that takes us on to public comments. If there's any members in the audience who wish to speak, which I believe there's only 2 and they're leaving, they're welcome to come up and speak. Seeing none, without any objection, I'm going to close public comments and move on to ZBA member comments. Any comments from any of the members this evening?
I have nothing.
I have none as well. Moving on to item 11, planning director comments. Mr. Box, anything for us this evening?
The only thing I would say is that it looks like there will not be a meeting in June. I don't think there are going to be any items.
Okay,
So I'm not missing it after all.
there you go. Mr. Orlando, anything on your end this
I have
evening?
nothing, thank you.
All right, very good. That moves us on to item 12, which is adjournment. Any motions to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Oh,
Motion by Mr. DeBrun, supported by Mr. Piper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by saying nay. At 6:53, we stand adjourned.